Hello, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Hope you enjoy this video. Hello again, everybody. This is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Welcome to this week's edition of Game Wisdom Live for the week of October 20th, 2016. We are actually getting close to Halloween, which of course means more Halloween and horror-themed posts and videos coming down the pipeline. As always, before we begin, just a brief status update as what's going on. Unfortunately, we didn't get any new Patreon subscribers this week. And for those of you who haven't heard, there are currently early bird reward pricing set up until the end of October. So if you'd like to donate and help support Game Wisdom and get a little discount for your trouble, be sure to get that in before October 31st at midnight. Again, you can find me on Patreon under Game Wisdom. In terms of the channel, though, things have been going really well. We broke 800 this week, and we are now at 808 subscribers as of the time of this stream/recording. Of course, joining me tonight is co-host and contributor for Game Wisdom, James Ellerby.
Yeah, guys.
James, it's great to have you on. How are you doing?
Pretty good actually. I had a really productive day today, and it was nice. And me and my lady did some shopping and stuff, so it was good.
Awesome. And I know this week we definitely had some casting to do. We spoke with a friend of mine, Chris Park from Arkin, and we certainly had the conversation. I think this was the first long haul podcast for James.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was quite the cast.
What did you think of it too? Because that was probably one of our deeper design discussions.
Like I said before, on the definitely on the cast, and people definitely go check that out. But it was definitely it was long, but definitely necessary. It was some stuff that got talked about. A lot of the things that got talked about really needed to be said, and I don't know how much that kind of stuff has been talked about in the gaming industry openly, which I really it needed to be said. That kind of stuff needed to be said, and it needed to be said by a man like Chris and his team, who have gone through ups and downs.
And I'm not sure what's going on with Skype right now. It keeps putting up advertisements. We'll see what that's all about. But it's definitely a tough topic to talk about. And we're going to try to get that podcast up for you guys tomorrow, because Chris is doing a Kickstarter for Arkin Games on AI Wars 2. That is going on right now. And I know when we mentioned this on the cast, but I don't think you've had a chance to play AI Wars, but we did talk a little bit about what makes it such an interesting game.
Yeah, definitely.
And right now, they are sitting at 20% of their funding with 20 days to go. So here's hoping that the cast tomorrow will help them out. And of course, there's always the Kickstarter bump that sometimes happens, like the mid to the end of it.
Yeah.
Other than that, as I said, we definitely went over 800 subscribers, which was amazing. It's certainly growing a lot faster. It took just under, I think it took about 2.5 weeks to get 100 subscribers last time. And that is definitely up from taking like 2 to 3, or maybe, I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks the time before. And for those of you watching this, if you haven't done so already, be sure to vote for the next series of Let's Plays on the channel. The choices this time are the returning vote for the Hitman 2016 play, a look back at the classic or the golden age of casual games with some of my favorite titles from PopCap, and a play of some of the games that I just could not get into. Games such as Spin Tires, Analog, A Hate Story, Goat Simulator, and probably a lot more on Steam that I don't remember right now. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure once the word gets about that one, that will be the one everyone will choose, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I know Goat Simulator had a little bit of a romp for a while there. I really want to get a couple of guys together and pop open a couple of beers and just play some Goat Simulator and film it and put it on YouTube just to see what happens. That game just I remember when I first found that game, I was like, what? I did I take my meds today? What's going
Mm-hmm.
on? What am I watching right now?
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it's still going on. That's the strange thing. They released, like, I think a
Yeah.
few expansions for it. It got a Payday 2 collaboration.
Yeah, yeah, I saw something like that. Which is it the same developers?
There's a heist that involves smuggling goats now.
Okay. Huh.
Yep. That's a thing.
Well, because I know Payday 2 also had a connection with Hotline Miami, I believe it
Mm-hmm.
was. And
Mm-hmm.
there a couple of masks from Hotline Miami. There's an entire mission. It's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be themed around Hotline Miami as well. So
Yeah. So, I mean, they're definitely growing things. They just finished their big 10 days of free content.
hmm
And now they just released their first bit of paid DLC, like another John Wick collaboration.
yeah, yeah, I saw that. They had another something with John Wick, which I thought was kind of
Mm-hmm.
interesting too.
Yeah. But let's talk about some of the topics this week. Got a few to mention from the posts that were up on Game Wisdom, but we're going to spend probably the majority of our little time here tonight talking about the big Nintendo reveal of the Nintendo Switch. But I guess let's talk a little bit about some of the games we've played, and that will lead into some of the topics. I guess for me, the big game that I've been playing, other than getting back into Payday 2, was playing Star Vikings, which was the casual game that we did the building the game segment on earlier this week with developer Mark Venturelli. I'm going
hmm
to try to get him on the cast later, but it was a very interesting game. I kind of see it as like a challenging game under the guise of a casual one. There's a lot in terms of probability and randomization of how the levels or how each stage plays out that can
hmm
affect whether or not you win or lose. And it's also part of the post I made about that great debate of probability. Now, for you, James, I think we mentioned this last time, but you, of course, tried out The Darkest Dungeon, which is
hmm
a game that's very much about probability and sometimes good or bad luck happening to you.
Yeah.
So, for you, what did you think of The Darkest Dungeon in terms of just how quickly the tide turns for those of you who've played the game?
Well, again, like I said, it is an experience. A very, at first, I remember when I first got on there, I was thinking, oh man, this is kind of like Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm.
Only when I look back at it now, it isn't. I noticed a really huge separation, and because of what you said, where the
Mm-hmm.
tide can turn, like, and like instantly, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that definitely takes it out of the Dark Souls genre, especially the fact that like the first Dark Souls
Mm-hmm.
is known for being hard but fair,
Mm-hmm.
as far as like game design goes, and when fair is a really interesting word to use, and I don't think it really applies to a game like Darkest Dungeon. Not that that's
Mm-hmm.
a bad thing, just that it's a different thing. I wouldn't be able to look at Darkest Dungeon and be like, "Oh man, this game is really tough but fair."
Mm-hmm.
No, because it isn't. Because, like you said, there's just stuff that's completely out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
That it's one of those. Well, that happened. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you now the game is all about trying to rig the odds as much in your favor,
Yeah.
but you can only rig it to a certain percentage before the game just goes, sorry, you're always going to have a percentage where this game just might just screw you that day. And, you know, coming from somebody who doesn't have the greatest luck in video games to begin with, that kind of was a little bit of annoying. It actually was one of the first times I really had to put the game down and was like, I need to take a step back
Mm-hmm.
and come back to this game a little bit later, you know, because it kind of got me a little under my skin. I definitely will admit,
Yeah.
because it was nothing I did. All the preparation
Mm-hmm.
was just pointless. You know what I mean, to a point there, and that was a little bit annoying.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I talked about in the post regarding probability. It's a great way to keep the game random and keep the player guessing, but it's very hard to build a balanced game around probability. Because for every player who has an easy time, and I know there's people who, beat the Darkest Dungeon and said, oh, this was just too easy of a game, nothing bad happened to me, everything was good. There are people like you and I who get crits after crits after crits, and then everyone suffers, and then we get a disease, and then a trap goes off, and we all get killed.
I also feel like there's not a lot of comeback. The only comeback mechanic in that game is full team wipe, start with new people, hopefully the game likes you this round. And when you have now, I mean, I got a better understanding of your levels of investment when it comes to just playing other roguelikes. But I felt with a lot of the other roguelikes, you had that overarching progression, and in a Darkest Dungeon, the overarching progression would be would definitely have to be the actual villa, the actual
hamlet,
mansion, and the outside stuff that's going on. So
yeah, and it's kind of like how they set that. They set that up, but there's only, as you said, there's only so far you can do to stack those odds in your favor. And at some point, you're just going to have to, hope and pray that the game is kind to you.
Yeah.
And it's a difference, like XCOM would be another kind of game like that. Now, I guess one question for you, James. I don't think I've ever asked you this yet, at least on these recordings. Did you have a chance to play either XCOM, like Enemy Unknown, or Enemy Within yet?
I played XCOM Enemy Unknown, I think. That was the one that came out for PS3. I played the one that came out for PS2. I think that's XCOM Enemy Unknown.
Yeah, I know they're releasing XCOM 2 at some point.
Yes.
Or it may even be out soon, I think. And now that's another game that is built on probability.
Yeah.
What did you think of playing XCOM?
I didn't get a chance to play it enough to get to the point where the game screwed me over. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying XCOM. Up until because I'm thinking I enjoyed XCOM, but keep in mind I didn't get it far enough, or I didn't get screwed. I hadn't gotten screwed over yet to the point where I was like, I don't know if this is but keep in mind I played all the way through the Game Boy Advanced, or I think it was the Super Nintendo version of Fire Emblem, when the first Fire Emblem that came over to the West. I played through that whole thing, and it was on the Fire Emblem, normal Fire Emblem mode, and I never had which is odd because at that game I never made the mistake to get the full impact of the weighted feel the full weight of losing a character like that, because of game mechanics. And mostly, and I'll admit, I mostly stayed safe before that playing games like Final Fantasy Tactics, where there are multiple chances for you to lose characters and make mistakes. It's not hand-holdy by the least, but it's definitely gives you more of an option to recover from your mistakes.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that makes like XCOM and games like it a little bit more fair is the fact that there are ways for you to, again, mitigate or control the probability, whether it's by hunkering down, making sure you guys are in high cover. Now, with that said, though, there is always the chance that something's going to screw you. One lucky crit from a sectoid or a thin man, and you can lose your character. And unfortunately, that is just the nature of the game. But when you watch like an expert play the game, like I've watched live plays like Beagle and Christopher Odd, when you get to the point when you know the mechanics of XCOM, through and through, you can do a lot to mitigate or downplay the importance of probability. You set up enough plans, you know the mechanics well enough to exploit the AI.
Yeah, but even then, didn't you? I mean, it's like I feel like even with those guys, it's just that you're putting the probability slightly in your favor, as opposed to getting, you're trying to balance the odds out.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the person that plays longer like balances the odds out better, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. Maybe it's like poker, and that essence is kind of like a poker play where it's like
Mm-hmm.
poker, to the newborn person, there's so many different things that where the odds aren't in your favor,
Mm-hmm.
that you can be your greenhornness will show through.
Yeah.
While the expert player, even though luck has its own, luck can falter for him as well. He has played long enough to know how to rig, how to balance things out the
Mm-hmm.
most in his favor, changing his percentages from 15% to like 55, which is
Mm-hmm.
great.
Yeah, and the expert player knows how to avoid, putting themselves in a situation where it's life or death. They're not going to, like in XCOM, they're not going to put their character in a position where they can be flanked.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to know the best ways to move around. And again, even if something bad happens, they're usually in the position to have a plan B or C.
Yeah. Well, I think you see that also with any
Mm-hmm.
any type of game, from chess to CS:GO, where you're seeing a very big difference between, uh, the people that know the game inside and out, balancing
Mm-hmm.
things into their favor, as opposed to the greenhorn or the casual.
Yeah. And here's one for you, and I'm not sure if you've played this one or even heard of it, but there was this game called Tharsis that came out. I think it was late 2015. Have you had a chance to hear of that one?
No, no, I haven't actually.
Tharsis is a combination of a roguelike and a board game.
Okay.
You basically have to get a spaceship to Mars, and it plays out over a series of weeks. Each week, you get hit with random events that happen at different parts of your ship,
Okay.
and everything is controlled by rolling dice. In order to clear an event, you need to roll enough points that equal that event. If you want to like use a special ability, you need to roll like specific numbers, stuff like that.
Okay.
So it plays very much like a board game, but it has all the randomization that you would get in a roguelike.
Mm-hmm.
And what made the game very polarizing was the fact that everything is pretty much up to chance, because you're basically dependent on dice rolls in order to do anything.
Mm.
And like there are cases where you can literally lose the second you start the game because you get 3 bad events from the start.
See, but I have a problem with that. It's actually one of the reasons why I stopped playing, Blood Bowl. You ever heard of the Blood Bowl series? Basically the Warhammer
Yeah.
universe's version of football.
Mm-hmm.
Where, and in Blood Bowl, I enjoyed Blood Bowl so much for the gameplay, but the random elements were enough to drive me bonkers. Because, and I'll admit, I am one of the people where I don't like when I play a game and I fail at the game because of something that I couldn't control.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
when you play, like, to me, that is almost, I mean, that enters the realm of gambling, casino
Mm-hmm.
style, pull
Mm-hmm.
the lever gambling.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big difference between poker and the slot machine.
Mm-hmm.
Poker, you can balance out some way, somehow, and I'm okay with that. But when the better you get at poker, the more the odds swing in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
But you're never going to
Yeah.
increase your skill at
Mhm.
pulling a slot machine.
Of course.
There's no strategy to it. There's no thought.
There's no choice.
There's no choice. And when something like that is kind of interesting, like compare it to a video game like, what was it called? The Stanley Parable,
Yeah.
where that whole game is making a mockery of choices in video games, but you still have choices in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's one of those. Now, I think it's cool because the game tells you to do one thing, and then if you do, depending on what you do, it changes the whole storyline, or
Mm-hmm.
changes the whole parable. but it's still your choice. And that's another. I'd almost argue and say, is a game where you have no choice truly a game?
Mm-hmm.
If
Or is it just gambling?
or is it just yeah? Is it gambling? Like, think about if you put that into Mario concepts. If Mario, if you didn't have to play, then you wouldn't be playing Mario. Movies don't give you a choice. Books don't give you a choice. Well, except for the old school multiple choice, book, choose your own adventures. But for the most part, books and movies don't give you choices. You go to watch somebody else's playthrough or somebody else's storytelling. So the whole point of a game is that you can control the outcomes. You can win or lose. So I'd almost argue to say that the less choice you have in a video game, the less it loses the merit of really holding on to that title.
Yeah, and that is a really good segue into talking about the next post I put on Game Wisdom. But before we do that, I just wanted to touch base with you, James. Have you played any new games since we last spoke last week?
New? No. I've been bouncing back. I lied. The beta for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare was out for the PS4, and so was Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse 2. Those were both out, and I played through a little bit of those.
How was Xenoverse? I know you were talking about that last time.
Vast improvement. You can clearly tell in Xenoverse 2 that they didn't think Xenoverse 1 was going to be as big as it was. So I think it's one of those. Xenoverse 1 came out where they're like, oh man, let's try a little something new with the Dragon Ball Z formula. People loved it, and loved it so much that they're like, give us more. Xenoverse 2 was the creators giving us more. If you are a fan of Dragon, it is. Not only is it a fully, it's about as close as you're going to get to a Dragon Ball Z MMO.
Interesting.
The second one is adding a larger hub world, more to do, more story, just more customization. They really listened to the fans and gave the fans what they want, which is so rare nowadays in video games.
Also, for those of you watching this just now, you probably noticed I made a weird face while James was talking. That wasn't anything James was saying. I was just looking up some pictures of the Nintendo Switch, and it threw me off guard for a second when I saw it. But that will be saved for in like 10 minutes. We'll come back to that one. But with the Xenoverse 2, it definitely sounds like it's an interesting game. Again, the last one I played was one of the Budokai games. This was, I think, PlayStation 2. Yeah, PlayStation 2.
This is definitely an evolution, a sheer straight evolution from the Budokai series, which I would definitely say is what really put Dragon Ball Z on the map as far as a legitimate fighting game for for Westerners.
Yeah, and I wonder if we said this earlier, but different developers do the Naruto games.
Yes, I believe it's different people that do the Naruto games.
I'm curious to see if any of like the changes or growth here will find their way over to the Naruto style.
That would be, I think it would be good, but I don't think that. And this is weird to say, and I apologize to any Japanese developers who are listening to that to this. I don't think that they think like that. And with a lot of Western gaming developments, you see so many people grabbing off of each other. The Call of Duty series, which was just a which is pretty much a first-person rail shooter, or just go through the storyline, and great, like the Medal of Honor stuff and whatnot. When they saw how much people were loving the RPG elements in RPGs, they were like, let's grab some of that. Yeah. And you don't see a lot when it comes to Japanese development teams and Japanese developers. They tend to stick to what makes their genre, and just increase that or keep the same old. Yeah. So, yeah.
I would say like the only like really like two really good, I guess, counter examples of that would be like Suda 51 and Hideo Kojima. I mean, when you look at the Metal Gear series, each
Mm-hmm.
game is just completely different in
Yeah.
some aspect from the previous ones.
Well, but I'd even argue to say that think about the Hideo Kojima. Obviously, yes, he's a Japanese man, but when you look at the Metal Gear Solid series as a whole, it's a very Americanized game. You would not, if you didn't know that it was Hideo Kojima, which he made very obvious from the beginning that he's the poster child for this. It's his baby. You wouldn't know that that was done by a Japanese team. I'd honestly argue. I mean, again, look at a game like and I'd say the same thing with From Software. Look at all of From Software's games, and that's part of the point. They're making these games very Western European styled games. Obviously, one being about a well, not war simulator, would be fictional war RPG, if you will. And where and From Software, especially the Soul series, action Dungeons and Dragons campaign. You know what I mean? Like single player Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which are very Western styles of thinking. Character, I mean, the Snake isn't somebody that you would generally see in the Japanese gaming archetype as a hero. You know what I mean? I mean, now you could make some allusions to that and say that he would be the grizzled samurai, but yeah, you look at the style and the things that Hideo Kojima talks about. It's very, very Western inspired. So,
yeah, and again, it's kind of interesting when we talk about game development in that style, especially when we start throwing in PC development. Like it always seems like there's always been that East versus West kind of mentality with a lot of game designs and game philosophies. But over the last few years, I think things have certainly become a little bit more globalized in a sense. As you said, with developers now really like borrowing and combining genres. We have RPG elements and shooters.
yeah.
We're seeing strategy games with more of like an esports mentality with League of Legends and like Dark Souls again. A Japanese take on the brutal roguelike genre, but even then it's not even like a true roguelike.
Yeah, it's a roguelike fused with like that, trudging through dungeons and a dungeon crawler almost, if you will.
Yeah.
Only a lot of the stuff's open world, but
Now, moving on then, the other post that leads in about talking about choice I made was about the issues of using morality choices in order to try and guide storytelling. And for me, I always find moral choices in games to be they don't work for me. I think it's usually just too ham-fisted to really force a player into a tough decision. So I was just wondering, what do you think about that, James, in terms of like playing games built around like a choice system?
We can't talk about the choice system without mentioning Mass Effect. And one of the beautiful things about Mass Effect is the contemplation of the different choices. Now, obviously, there's the whole anybody that's worth their gamer salt knows about the whole outrage about the end of Mass Effect 3 and some of the early Paragon, the Paragon to what's the other Renegade Paragon system, which could be, but story wise, some of those choices were just. Whoa, man! I didn't expect that. I mean, they were very It was Star Trek-esque choices, well, because it's the Star Trek-esque world. Well, Star Trek-esque Star Trek fused with Star Wars, because Star Trek. I mean, a lot of people want to say this. Star Trek is science fiction versus science fiction or science fantasy, but Mass Effect was talking about things like. Hi, let's have a fun space romp. You get to be wacky Captain Kirk, hey, do you want to commit genocide of an entire alien species? Well, well, it's Tuesday and it's my day off, so I hadn't thought about that this morning, and I think it stopped a couple of people in their tracks. And as I talked to a couple of my friends, where it did stop them in their tracks to the point where several years later they've asked me, so James, what do you think of the genophage? And I'm like, well, do we have a 2-hour conversation of the rights and wrongs of you know what I mean? That's a full-scale political discussion. And that's choice.
Yeah.
That's choice being implemented in a video game beautifully. Beautifully, where you don't know when right and wrong are a choice, it's not as groundbreaking as what do you do when you know, and Bethesda's done it with a couple of their choices in there have been a couple of choices in the Fallout series where they were right now, wrong later, wrong now, right later. You know what I mean? But Dark Souls does a couple of those things. Dark Souls throws choices at you, and I'm not just talking about gameplay. I'm talking about storyline choices. Or let's talk Bloodborne. In Bloodborne, there are 2 female characters in the game. One of them comes from an old bloodline, and her blood is supposedly tainted, and she offers to give you the blood. And people that have played Bloodborne might know this or whatnot, but it's blood as a currency, and it's also a healing factor. And she offers to give you her blood, and you could take her blood. But later on, you meet a different character who is supposed to be part of the blood church in the game, and she is at odds with the tainted blood woman. And depending on who you choose will have different consequences, of which I will leave out, for people to go and play on their own. Will leave out, you know, that kind of gives you different choices. Now, I think, and it does it in the Dark Souls-esque way of, you have unless you specifically go down this tunnel, make that turn, kill that bad guy, fight that boss, and wear this outfit, you won't ever meet, you know, 50% of the choices in the entire game. So, you know, but the very fact that they are there shows that, you know, and that they are prevalent in all the Souls games. I think that's beautiful. And again, it goes back to my statement, what I was saying before. Those kind of choices are what separates video game as an artistic medium than books and movies. Books and movies don't give you the choice. So,
yeah, and that's what I was getting at with the post. That, as you said, with like a game like Mass Effect or Fallout, excuse me, and even stuff like from the Witcher series, that the choice is not about good and evil, because we know what's good and evil. We know what's going to happen if we let someone live or we kill someone. The real challenge is the consequences of those choices. As you said, you want to be right now, wrong later, wrong now, right later. Are you going to, you know, do the good thing for a bad reason? And then what about the fallout of those choices? And far too often games built around morality, the choices are just so limited. You know, if you steal money from someone, what's that going to really do 5-10 hours down the line?
Yeah, and you don't ever really see the impact of that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, it's a video game. That's an NPC character. He doesn't need that kind of. He doesn't need the money, whatever. But like when you put it into things like gameplay choices and things that affect the world, in Dark Souls 1, spoilers, one of my favorite characters in Dark Souls 1, just design-wise and his impact on the game, is a guy by the name of Knight Lautrec. And you meet him in a prison at the top of a church. Why a church has a prison is a conversation for another day. But you have the choice of whether or not to free this guy. And it's a choice that, generally speaking, no one would think that it's even a choice. It's like, oh, well, obviously I'm going to free this guy. He's got really cool armor. But you only see the ramifications of that choice later down the road. And you're like, what? Wait, that was an option? You know, and that's only when you start thinking, oh my God, this guy screwed me over. You know what I mean? Like, and that choice had a lasting impact, a real, I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to tell audience wise what the choice was, what happens. But it is a lasting impact that really does change how the game is played. Same thing with Mass Effect. And, you know, it's one thing, again, oh, I stole, I'm Link. Do I smash the pot and get the rupees, or do I not and feel like a, you know, a good boy? You know, you don't. That's not a choice. You know, you when it's an NPC and you know that you don't really care about that NPC. Yeah, obviously. But when, another really good, interesting one, BioShock. What do you do with the little girls after you save them? You know, use, you know, and a lot of it, yeah, I guess you could go, well, it's a right versus wrong decision. Yeah, but that right versus wrong is based on progression. And when you base that kind of stuff on progression, it makes right and wrong a little bit more fluid. And BioShock Infinite obviously worked in a lot more choices and a lot more making fun of the player of the fact that they have no choice. So that was actually almost the whole premise of the game.
And what we're seeing a lot, like I made this post a few weeks ago regarding Telltale, that I'm just getting more and more disappointed with their games, just because it seems like they're trying to say that your choices matter and all this does, but none of it is really directing or affecting the plot itself. And I think that's another major part of storytelling. When you start adding in those choices, it needs to impact the plot. And as you said with Mass Effect, that's part of the reason why there was such an outcry over the original endings. Because again, they basically said that all your choices that you made over 3 games, you know, they don't matter at all. You know, it all comes down to these 3 options.
And there's a very big difference between that, and there's a very big difference between that and a game like BioShock Infinite, where they are telling you from the beginning, the whole point of the game is that actually the whole point of the BioShock series is that your choices don't matter. And that's an artistic take on it. What BioWare did was lazy. It was lazy, and it was kind of insulting to the audience. You know, and you know, I think that that's one of the biggest differences between a game like BioShock, the BioShock series, and Mass Effect 3, where Mass Effect 3 had been working you up this entire time, where your choices did matter. Not, oh, they were supposed to matter. No, they did matter. They actually did matter. You could save an entire race, alien species, or you could destroy one. You could push a character to this way. You could choose whether or not a character live or die. They did matter. But then to go back at the very end and go, none of it mattered. No. That's cop-out. That's a cop-out. No.
All right. We are approaching about, I think, like 37, 38 minutes in. So let's move on to our final topic, and the one that I'm sure everyone is talking about today, and that is the Nintendo Switch. So as I said about 10 minutes ago, I was looking at some concept or the actual model of it. So before I talk about my thoughts, James, what do you make of Nintendo's new system?
I watched the trailer. It was a fun, interesting trailer. When I watched the trailer, my first thought was, that's cool. Nintendo really lately in the past couple of weeks, especially with their Pokemon franchise, Sun and Moon, Nintendo's really been going, okay, we do love you, Westerners. We really do. Here's some videos, because if you look at some back at some, they had some of the older, you know, you're playing with power, you know, were geared towards Westerners as well. But it was kind of cool. Nintendo reminds me of the good memories of Grandpa.
Hmm.
It's good. It's good memories of Grandpa. It's the going fishing with your grandfather. Sitting there, playing with the dog, or
Hmm.
talking about his time in the war. The good memories you have with your granddad, and that's what Nintendo's really been doing. You can see it with the
Hmm.
whole. I teared up a little bit when I watched the trailer for it was the 20-year anniversary for Pokemon, and they showed this little kid popping in a Game Boy Color playing Pokemon Red and Blue, and then it showed like a time lapse of him growing into a grown ass dude, which I was like, that's me. I'm that grown ass dude. And then he walks by a GameStop or whatever, and he sees the advertisement for Sun and Moon, and he just kind of looks and smiles, and I was like, oh, Nintendo, right in the feels. And when I saw the Nintendo what's it called, a Switch,
Hmm.
my thought was, it reminded me of Grandpa getting a selfie stick, where it's like, I know what the kids are doing these days. They want mobile gaming, and they can take it with them. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. No, I think that's really cool. I think it's and for Nintendo, I mean, because it's not like Nintendo has a portable, console that they have already been marketing for years. And you are you getting rid of my Game Boy? Are you getting
Is
are you
this
getting
the?
rid of my? But no, go ahead. Is this the death of the DS? Is that what? No, what we're gonna say is this the.
This is the. This is their way of slowly taking the DS out back. I think this is the old Yeller. I think.
Yeah. I don't know if it's taken. Yeah, and I couldn't tell that. Like, I felt like it was Old Yeller. Like, I felt like Mom and Pa are looking at the dog. They haven't got the gun yet, but they're looking at the dog.
Hmm.
They're keeping their eye out on that dog. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm clutching my DS. Hey, wait a second. Hey, your handheld market is held strong and true. It's been there for
Hmm.
you. What are you doing with it?
Hmm.
And let's put it this way: is it the natural evolution of things?
Mm.
Maybe. Will it work? Time will tell.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing about Nintendo Switch. I'm looking at the screenshots of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I agree there's a sentiment going around that this is basically Nintendo saying, I don't give a crap anymore about the mainstream market. And that
Yeah.
is definitely true. This is, looking at this thing, this is not going to be something that's going to be competing directly with the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, or whatever comes next. There's just no way in hell it's going to do that.
No.
And this is something that I think a lot of people have been saying about Nintendo for some time, that they're not in a position to be number one in the sense in terms of the mainstream market. They're never going to be able to match PlayStation or Xbox as the number one console just because they don't have the third party support for it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Nintendo's way of saying, yeah, you can buy an Xbox One, you can buy a PlayStation 4, one or the other, you'll get all your games, but if you want something, completely and utterly different from all those other guys,
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah. Well, and I honestly, I think that's a strong move for
Yeah.
Nintendo. And I think Nintendo really needs to realize it can't compete anymore with those kind of things. So it needs to do what it's
Mm-hmm.
best at. And here's the thing, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't see a problem with Nintendo hitting the play as you go mobile market. You know what I mean? Play as you go. Bring your games with you. They've already won that market.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's one of those that look at the behold the graveyard, and it's filled with PlayStation Vitas. Will that will
And,
speak for itself?
and TurboGrafx Swans and
Yeah,
Game
exactly.
Gears and
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
one more, but I don't remember.
The Jag, wasn't there a portable Jaguar?
maybe
No, Neo Geo. Neo Geo.
Neo Geo
Neo
Pocket.
Geo, Neo
There we
Geo
go.
Pocket. Yep.
Yeah.
Behold the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
And Nintendo, like, you're not gonna beat them when it comes to portable gaming.
Yeah.
And if anything, I can look at the Switch and go, Nintendo, okay, you're trying to. I feel like Nintendo's trying to lock down a market that it's already won.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Although, what really caught me about half as much as the new system and its capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
Skyrim
Mm.
was on. If you watch the video,
Yeah.
that dude's playing. There's people playing Skyrim on the Nintendo Switch,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of, I don't know if it worries me. I don't know if what Nintendo is doing, what are you doing with Skyrim, Nintendo? That's my question. First of all, Skyrim's gonna have, I predict, and this is just me talking out my butt, but I predict Skyrim's gonna have a new resurgence because it's coming out. I mean, I think it's in another week or so. They're doing the remaster for the next gen console.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're going to have a surge in Skyrim love again, which is I'm perfectly okay with that because Skyrim, I thought Skyrim was a pretty gorgeous game. It was definitely a good game. But I feel like Nintendo is going to come to the party late because we're having this resurgence of Skyrim right now.
Not in March of 2017, I
Not
think.
in March, exactly. Not in March or even June 2017. If we can, think about Nintendo and their release dates. If they're showing the Switch now, we're going to see a summer release. I'm pushing for a summer release for the Switch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that, you know what I mean? They might even hold off, wait till the E3 pops out. Wait till next year's E3 and then market bust out the Switch there. But are you really gonna push Skyrim with you? Like, again, I think our Skyrim plate will have already been gobbled up, eaten, and already done with seconds and thirds before Nintendo gets their hands on it. So
Yeah. Now, looking at it, there's three, I think, big points. This is just me looking at the system and from watching the video that I want to bring up.
yeah,
The first one, apparently Nintendo surprised me, and they are still continuing the Amiibo support for Nintendo Switch. It was announced, I think IGN reported this. So I actually made a post saying that I thought that they were, killing it off slowly.
yeah.
So I'm kind of interested to see how this will play in with the Nintendo Switch. The second thing, now you've obviously seen what it looks like by now. You've watched the video.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The one thing that I'm looking at this that is kind of has me a little disappointed is the control layout. I'm not a fan of the analog sticks. Like, it feels like it's going to be very awkward to use. And the thing is, I'm going to pull up my controller for those of you watching this live, or record it. I have my 360 controller up. The distance between the two sticks definitely feels shorter on the 360 controller than it looks like on the Nintendo Switch, and I don't think there's even a name yet for that kind of configuration.
Yeah.
But it just looks uncomfortable to me. And that could just be me, but it's one of those risks when you do something completely unconventional.
I don't think it's going to sell very well in the West. And I think that I've heard so many friends of mine who are large European-esque men. Now, let's put it this way. I think Nintendo really hasn't been focused on large dudes for a very long time. And I think, let's put it this way. It's funny because in the video, half the video was like 20 something, maybe young 20s, young 20 something guys. Half of it was 20 something guys, and I think there was a chick in there too. How a controller feels will impact whether or not people buy it.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, you could go on and be like, if anybody's gonna argue with me, would be Nintendo 64 players.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, think back to Nintendo 64. Remember
Mm-hmm.
how awkward that controller was.
Yes.
But awkward is different than tiny. That controller was awkward, but it was big. And
Mm-hmm.
for people, dudes with large hands, and I'm sure there's some ladies
Yeah.
out there who have large hands as well.
You
I'm
can
not
see my hands,
sexist.
folks. Here we go.
um, uh, Having a controller where it's really, really, really tiny, like tinier than like cell phone-esque tiny,
Oh yeah, I have enough trouble with the cell phones.
I think you're gonna turn a lot of people off. Now,
Yeah.
again, Nintendo's never really gone after the people whose hands would be big enough to find their controllers a problem in the first place. And as of recently, they usually target their stuff towards families and children.
Yeah.
And maybe if that's what they're going for, I think that'll be fine. Except the new technology that the system is offering isn't really something that you would see a kid or a family. If you're with families, you're usually going to be at home playing a system. If you're a kid, you're usually going to be at home, or you're going to be at a friend's house playing the game system. So I just don't see a bunch of 9-year-olds playing the Switch like out in the at the supermarket. I mean, it almost seems too encumbersome. It's not small enough to be a Game Boy, but it's not
big enough. Or
DS, but it's not big enough to be a full-fledged console. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know. I just or more scratch the console part. It's just not small enough to be a Game Boy. It's not small enough to really just I don't know.
like something that you can, like with the 3DS, I can take it, put it in my pocket, I'm out the door.
Yep.
I don't think I'm going to be fitting the Nintendo Switch in any of its configurations in my jeans.
Unless you have Jinko jeans from like the 90s.
Pocket jeans. I have the pockets, multiple pockets.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's going to be a problem in certain markets. It's going to be interesting to see how the Western public reacts to that, the Switch.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing, they were saying this is going to be a cartridge-based system. And my mind is like, I'm having some cognitive dissonance while I'm thinking about, putting like Skyrim on cartridge. It's got to have like a DLC or, hard drive support or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because I just can't imagine fitting Skyrim on a cartridge. My brain is refusing to accept that reality.
Yeah, Skyrim and again, remember I had said like, well, first of all, you're not going to be playing Skyrim on a cartridge because you'll have already been done with Skyrim by the time it comes out for a Nintendo cartridge. And cartridge again. That's what I said when I keep saying Nintendo is grandfather. It's grandpa trying to be cool, and it's like, Grandpa, you're. Hey, you guys ever heard of an 8-track? And I'm like, yeah, Granddad, that's cool. We have MP3s now. And I know. Yeah, it's. I don't know. Really, Nintendo, you're still doing the cartridge thing, huh?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess you get points for sticking to your guns.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we're talking about this literally the day of the announcement. Yeah. So there are still plenty of months and time for more information to come out, and I'm sure, this may not be the main version. I mean, they can always change the model, they can always alter things and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think from like at least for a positive note, from like a pitch standpoint, having a console that you can literally play anywhere definitely has some merit to it. And again, it's something that we're not seeing on the Xbox and the PlayStation 4. I mean, the idea of having like the tablet, like for instance, if I have family watching my TV, I can, there's that moment that dawned me, you go, wait a minute, I don't need to use my TV to play the Wii U. I can take this and go somewhere else. Like, there's that wait a minute, that's what they were getting at with this whole time.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that they haven't announced yet, if it is going to be a touchscreen or not, because that will have a big impact on backwards compatibility, which also raises another interesting point. Obviously, new system means completely unique hardware, completely unique setup. How or if Nintendo is going to continue being backwards compatible with their other stuff? Now, I'm sure Virtual Console, that kind of thing is a different thing. But what about the Wii U, GameCube, Wii, stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I did see a cartridge slot for. I thought when I looked at the cartridge slot, I thought it was a cartridge slot for DS games, like 3DS games.
That's what it was looking like to me, but
that's what I think that's what that is. I don't know. I don't really know what.
The cartridge, when I was like, they showed like a half second on like the actual video. It looked like a red cartridge, so it looks like it's going to be maybe some new proprietary cartridge system for the.
Yeah, or that might be a new. Yeah, so I don't know how backwards compatible that's gonna be. I mean, Nintendo's answer so far this gen for backwards compatible has been go to our store.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna keep that trend or if they're looking to do more. I don't know. That's gonna be interesting.
Here's a random question for you, James, and for anyone else listening or watching this right now. I'm looking at the controller, or we'll come up with some fancy name for this at a later point. But if you look at the controller, there's some kind of a symbol, or I don't even know what that is, underneath the down arrow on the minus controller. And it's bothering me because I have no idea what that is supposed to be. Is that just like a screw in there, or is that like a jack? I don't know.
I thought it was going to be like, I thought it was like a share, like maybe they're going to have a share button too.
Because I see the home button on the Plus controller, but it's driving me crazy looking at it, going like, what the hell is that thing supposed to be on there? Now, obviously, the minus and plus buttons, that's going to probably be like another connector.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will say this. I mean, shine on Nintendo, you crazy diamond. I mean, this is. I don't think we were expecting this when we woke up this morning, that this was going to be their announcement.
Yeah, very true.
I mean, again, like what they're doing is really going to be, like as we said, their strategy is basically not to compete with the mainstream market. And that also makes it very difficult to predict how this is going to do. Like we said, it is a smart move, I think. They're not going to be number one, so become number two. Be the system that, the second one everyone's going to buy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Or even they're not going to do what Sony and Microsoft are going to do. So let's go full on Nintendo. Let's do what Nintendo does best, and
let's not even care about them. Let's just be, let Sony and Microsoft be like semi interchangeable outside of their first party games.
Yeah.
But let's just do whatever the hell we want. Now here's the question. I know the two of us will never be able to answer this ourselves. Do you think that this kind of system was a decision that was discussed when Satoru Iwata was still alive, or do you think this is sort of the new head of Nintendo's, like his kind of vision? Like,
I think this has been looking at Nintendo. Nintendo are people that Nintendo, they are usually working on the next thing further in advance. I wouldn't doubt that this is something that they've been working on and keeping secret ever since the Wii U was announced. And the reason I say that is because if you look at the Wii U, it's really not that far of a stretch from the Wii. So I don't think I really felt like the Wii U and the Wii were kind of worked on around the same time, and then just kind of all the stuff that they couldn't fit on the Wii, they put back into production and worked on it for the Wii U. So if they were doing that for the Wii U, that means that most of the work for the Wii U was already done was already done after the Wii U after the regular Wii had been out for a while,
Yeah.
which means I wouldn't doubt that the Switch was there. All the things we couldn't put in the Wii U, let's put it on this.
Yeah.
Let's put it on this.
And
I just noticed something though too. And I'm pausing it right now. About 2:53 into the trailer, they're showing a pro team. Actually, I think 2 pro teams playing.
Splatoon.
What's that? Splatoon. Which I think this is a topic, definitely another topic for a cast or whatnot, or just a live. Nintendo entering the pro scene. So, because think about that, we haven't really seen a pro scene from Nintendo.
Yeah.
They haven't had a game to be pro scene. You know
Definitely.
what I mean? So,
and if you look at, like, during that same section, someone is holding a more classic, like a Wii Controller Pro kind of controller.
Yeah.
So it definitely is. Nintendo is trying to cover all their bases in a sense with the different control schemes, the different setups. And again, I mean, at this point, we really can't say yes or no whether this will work. I'm still, with that said, there is a good 80% chance I'm going to be buying the system. I mean, it still comes down to, I still need to. There's still plenty of Wii U and Wii games I need to get. I still haven't played Skyward Sword yet, so at some point I should really look into that. But it's still very early to say. But I'm generally interested in what they're going to do. Again, as we've said, Nintendo is one of those companies that you really don't know what's going on there unless you're working there. I would just absolutely love to talk to them about their process with this.
Yeah.
If Reggie Fizumi is watching this, please give me a call. Shigeru Miyamoto, if you're looking at this, get in touch with me. Please.
That'd be a good cast.
That would be like a 6-hour cast. We won't let him go. We're not letting him go.
Right. We're gonna get as much information out of that as we could.
So I think we are just over an hour. We're about to hit an hour in terms of recording or streaming. So I think it's time to wrap things up for tonight. For those of you interested in more of my thoughts on Nintendo Switch, I think we'll dedicate tomorrow's critical thought to that. Tomorrow, of course, being Friday. Obviously, this will probably be posted either Friday or Saturday for the recorded audience. And be sure to check out the podcast week. Like I said, we're going to try and put up the one we did with Chris Park in order to help time it with the AI Wars 2 Kickstarter. And then we'll get back to my ever-growing backlog of podcasts, which honestly is not a bad problem to have when we have so many casts that we're not rushing for guests each week. But like we said, thanks so much for tuning in. As we've been talking, even though people haven't joined, we actually got a few more subscribers. We are at 809 subscribers right now.
All right, rock on.
Thank you everyone who has been subscribing. I hope you enjoy the content. Be sure to vote for the next Let's Play on the channel as we make our way up to 900 and then the big 1,000. Other than that, check out the Patreon campaign. Of course, subscribe, and you'll see all the information in the little outro, which will be playing in the next few minutes. So, James, thanks so much for coming on tonight. I hope you enjoyed the cast yesterday, and hopefully we'll have some more to do next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Josh.
Alright, so for those of you enjoying Game Wisdom Live, thanks so much for watching. Check out game-wisdom.com again for those posts and podcasts. And other than that, I'm going to be getting ready for tonight's stream in a little bit. Have a great night, and we'll see you all next week, and I'll talk to you all again tomorrow. Take care. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.